Peters from the Office of Media and Education. He's our electronic media coordinator, and he's going to talk about podcasting today. And then we've got Bryan Vandiviere, who's the web presentation technology coordinator. I have a hard time remembering his whole title, but as you know, most of you know him as the Integrity or the WIMBA person on campus. So he'll step in later and talk about podcasting through those two tools as well. So with further ado, Brent.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so basically this is going to be about podcasting as well as RSS from within K-State Online. Now, before we get any further here, just as a quick outline, I'm going to talk about some of the specific differences between what is an RSS and what is a podcast. Along the same lines, we also have to consider the pedagogy of those two separate things. Then I'll go through and talk about K-State Online having the tools necessary for you to actually be able to distribute your podcast. And then Bryan will pick up with talking about Integrity and WIMBA. Okay, so first, RSS versus podcast. What is RSS? Now, RSS stands for really simple syndication. What it is, it's an online method of automatically providing subscribers with data. And that's it. So this could be any type of data. It could be a file that contains just text. It could be audio. It could be video. It could be maybe a program, anything. As long as you're putting it up online, it can be distributed through RSS. It's basically the subscriber hooks up with the RSS, and now they're going to be able to get that content automatically. Now, the difference between that and a podcast is that a podcast generally refers to more multimedia type content, audio, video, images, because this can be played. It can be played on your computer, of course, just like anything, but it can also be used in a mobile device. A mobile device meaning like your iPod, right? That's what most people think of, but it encompasses many other type of mobile devices. So that's kind of a distinction there between RSS and a podcast. Now, a podcast is an RSS, but it's a special type of RSS. Okay, so talking about the pedagogy of it, these are just some things that you need to consider if you're going to be using a podcast, through the RSS feed. Are you going to just be course casting, or are you going to also have additional material? There's lots of research that's going on right now because of people are using this throughout the world, many different universities. Some instructors are choosing just to have podcasts of their lectures. So basically, I'm presenting my lecture here to the class live, and I'm capturing it. Then later on, I'll put it up online, and then boom, now I have a podcast of my lecture. That's course casting, which is fine, but there's so much more that you can do with it. Additional material, meaning there's other things that you could utilize a podcast for, other readings or examples of work, guest lectures from previous classes, previous years. You can incorporate that into the course by providing that as a podcast. As well as corrections made, like you give out information and then later on you realize, whoop, I said the exact wrong thing, so I'll just add that to the next podcast and distribute it so in between classes they can receive this added content to clarify what occurred during the class. All right, other things such as lecture presentation, audio, video, and timing. What that means is you can choose what you want to do. Is it going to be just an audio podcast, a video podcast? Are you going to make it not live and just do it on your own separately? What about if you're doing it live and someone way in the back asks a question? Well, you have to realize if you're taping it or you're audio recording it, they're not going to pick up the question, so you need to restate the question. Little things like that to consider. Timing. Are you going to make the podcast available right after it's done? Meaning, like right now I finished doing this lecture and now I'm going to put it up there, or is it going to be I'll do this ahead of time. I'll practice that in my office or just with the camera guy, and then I'll put it up even before class. Or maybe I'll distribute all of the podcasts for the entire semester right at the beginning of the course. Different little things, just things to consider about how you're going to be distributing, how you're going to be presenting the class. How does the student access the content? That means, are they just using the computer? Are they using it at the library computer? Are they using an iPod to get the content? Are they using a cell phone? Many different possibilities for this. Interaction possibilities. Again, this is how are you going to utilize the podcast within your course. Some instructors have chosen to no longer have any lectures during the course time. So that means all the lectures are in podcast form, the student accesses the podcast before class, and then during class time, that's used only for discussion. So during that time, it clarifies what the lecture was about. During that time, you might have practical exercises where students interact with each other using the concepts that were presented within the podcast, thereby utilizing the class time more for interaction with the actual student. Different possibilities, different usage. RSS and podcast usage assessment. No one should ever use a podcast or an RSS feed just for the sake of using it. Hey, this is a hip new technology, right? Assessment is important because then you can fine-tune how you're actually using the podcast, how you're actually using the distribution of your content through an RSS feed. By having periodic assessments, you can fine-tune it and see exactly where this is being beneficial or where this is really just tearing down the class. And that can be done in many different ways, either through surveys, questions. In the future, probably in summer, I think we're going to have a new feature in K-State Online where you can actually see every file that every student has downloaded and at what time, so then you can see a usage meter of the content as well. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little live demo so you can see how it actually works within K-State Online. It's real simple, so it's nothing too hard or anything. Okay, so I'll probably have to re-log in here because it's probably timed out on me, but everyone knows this. This is the Manage Files section, right? I go in here, I find the folder that I want to add content to, or the folder that I want to turn into a podcast. So all I do is I click on the little arrow, and then I go down to this section here that allows me the design properties. Click on design properties, and then here, well, if you could see this, I have a button right here that enables RSS feed. Okay, there's also another button right underneath it, or another selection that says include iTunes RSS link. The reason that we chose to have two selections there is because the RSS feed, that right there, with that, you could subscribe using iTunes, but with a button specifically for iTunes makes it that much easier if someone is using iTunes as their RSS reader, which most students are because all the hip kids are having the iPods, right? But what you have to understand is, and this is where, again, the pedagogy plays a big part in it. If I say, yes, I want to use my RSS feed as an instructor, and I'm going to put all of my documents up there, like let's say I have Word documents of instructions, I'm going to put my syllabus up there. Well, now the student is receiving that content on their computer, and that's fine. But if they're hooking up their iPod, now they take their iPod, they're not going to be able to access that Word document on their iPod because that's not what the mobile device is designed for. Again, remember what I told you about the podcast? A podcast is more of video, audio, images. That's what that mobile device is really going to be looking for in a podcast. So there's a slight difference again there between your podcast and your RSS feed. The RSS feed is for documents, for anything that you want the student to get. Okay? So that's kind of a danger there where if you're using it incorrectly, that, well, no, you don't have a podcast, you have an RSS feed because I'm sending them all sorts of content beyond just audio, video, and images. Okay, something to think about there. So once I do that and I save that, then within my course, this will automatically show up. So here's just within content modules, I have a module called Podcasting in You. And there I have, these right here are the actual files that I would send within my RSS feed. And since this is actually video, this would also be part of my podcast. And so boom, I have these two buttons. So now a student simply clicks on this, their iTunes automatically opens up, and now they're subscribed to that podcast. And it's that simple. Any questions? I know I went through that a little quick, but it's really not that difficult. Once you put up your content, you select that you want to have an RSS feed, or if you want to have an iTunes link as well, select those, and then this automatically occurs for you. There's lots of coding that used to be involved in having to create your podcast, but we've eliminated that by putting it as a feature of K-State Online. Yes, Ben? So then, boom. Now within my podcast section of iTunes, it says Podcasting in You. It automatically downloaded. I have three files in that podcast, right? That RSS feed. 3 files. 2 of them are video, and 1 of them is a PDF file. Now the PDF file is this one right here, that top one. It says iTunes PDF test. Only because it's a PDF did it even appear in here. Now again, if I hooked up my iPod and put it on there, the PDF isn't going to be on the iPod. But you can still see that it's here. So a student would still understand, oh yeah, syllabus.pdf, that's just a text file. But if I had it in Word, guess what? You wouldn't even see it in here. You wouldn't even know that it was being sent to you. That's why I'm telling you about the dangers of making sure that you understand the difference between a podcast and just an RSS feed. So luckily they understand PDFs, but of course they're probably not going to allow a Word document to even show up here. Why? Apple product, not a Microsoft product. Okay. Now, iTunes isn't the only one that you can use for a podcast, to get the podcast. This is just the most popular one. Yes?
Well, what happens if you click on the other RSS feed button there?
The other RSS feed button, it'll be used by whichever one you have designated as, so like whatever you have as your RSS reader, that's what will show up. Let me open it up here. Okay. So in this case, this is my, this is the RSS reader that I have, this is Internet Explorer 7. Okay, it's the newest one. This one has a built-in RSS reader. Okay, so here it automatically shows me the content right there on the left. Firefox does. It's not built in, but it's an easy plugin that you can get from Firefox.
Actually, the new.
Yeah, the big thing is that not everybody uses Firefox, not everybody uses the newest Internet Explorer, so we sort of have to allow for variations in that. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, I'll turn it over to Bryan.
Oh, we're getting switched out. I always like to poll the room to see how many people actually have an iPod. Okay, pretty good number. I always kind of like to see that because the numbers are always changing. You know, when we first started, it's nobody, and then over time, it's 1 here, 2 there. And it's gradually getting to the point where almost everybody actually has an iPod. If you don't have one and want to look at one, I do have one up here at the end if you want to just kind of take a look at what some of the things would look like as a student. So that'll be available. So kind of what I want to talk about is some of the software that we have available to create a podcast, and just different ways you can go about it. A couple different ways you can actually create the podcast. One of those ways is Tegrity. One of the nice things about Tegrity, if you're currently using it, you don't have to do anything differently. It's just already done for you. And what that happens, we're used to the normal Tegrity lecture where we have, let's see. So here's how to create a Tegrity lecture. That loaded up. So you already have your web-based player with audio, video, PowerPoint slides as soon as that comes in. And so basically with this player, we already have all the components we need for an enhanced podcast. And basically the difference between an enhanced podcast and a regular podcast is an enhanced podcast either has slides with it or pictures or some kind of text that goes along with it. So, normal podcast, or normal Tegrity lecture here, where we'll have our video up here, we'll have our slides on the right-hand side here. And with that, I won't bore you with my video here, but with those components, we can actually pull those out, and for students, we can actually come in here. I have one from AggieCon 700, so chapter 13. Now let's click on that to play. So basically, we took out the video and pulled in the audio and have the PowerPoint slides playing at the same time. And you notice that if I fast forward, slides change along with it. So this is very handy for students who want to do review sessions. Now, there's always the key to, is this very important with the slides and getting this content? I recommend starting small. If you want to do a podcast, start with audio, then work your way up to maybe adding slides or pictures, and then maybe video. Just kind of take baby steps on that. But with this, if you watch it on a computer, it's much easier to see because you can make that slide as big as you want. But try watching that slide on this little screen. It's not going to happen. And you'll have to have a magnifying glass out there to look at all the print. What some people are doing is they're actually listening to the lecture and they have their textbooks with them. So that way they can kind of reference a page. But when you're making your podcast, you want to make sure that you say page so-and-so, make sure that they can still follow along. Because it's a little different because they might not get the visual cues that they would get in a room. Yeah.
Why are you recommending starting with just audio and then moving to, I mean, I understand it's simpler and I understand all of what you just said here, but in terms of the way people learn, that still may not be.
I recommend that just because getting your feet wet. Right, exactly. I would recommend, audio only, and I would recommend no more than 20 minutes, for sure. And that kind of goes away against how some people teach. The reason for that is most podcasts that students are used to, I subscribe to a lot of podcasts, and most of them are audio only. But they're no more than 30 minutes tops because you get kind of bored sitting there listening to it. So you can speak and do a podcast for longer and break it up into smaller sections. Make it part 1, part 2, part 3. That way it's more convenient for the students, and they can actually, they'll find it easier to listen to because they're like, oh, I have 20 minutes here. I can listen to this section real fast. So it makes it a little bit more convenient for them to break it up. But.
What happened to Michael's little talking head? Part of integrity, the original integrity lecture.
The problem with that is it actually becomes a video file. These are actually still audio files. They're actually MP3s with a special wrapper around it that kind of adds the PowerPoint on there. So with that, we could do the video. We're just not set up at this point to do that, just because we'll have to pull that out. But we can always take the video and convert it into something else.
So if somebody has a video iPod, they would just have the audio and the slides.
Right.
There's no access to the video, like any recorded video.
Right, exactly. The reason why we did it as well is because the two primary content that you want to get out to the students are your slides and your audio. And that's really what you want to get across to the students. And so those are the two components we decided to go with on this. But with that, the nice thing about it is you get a lot of bang for your buck with this. You get the web-based player, and you get a portable version that you can put on an iPod, phone, whatever you want to at that point. And really, you don't have to do anything special with creating it. So kind of what that looks like, I get a lot of questions on, well, what happens, how do I get the RSS feed into, or how do I get the Integrity lecture into the RSS feed? So let's kind of take a look at that. So I have my course here. So let's go into week 1. And you see over here, I already have my RSS. It's kind of hard to see back there. But I already have my RSS over here. So what I'll do is, we talked about browsers. Safari has it built in. A lot of people use their browser that they're familiar with. A lot of people use Google Reader, which is another great RSS feed reader. But what I'm going to do is just take this, and I'm going to drag it to my taskbar. And so this is actually what my folder was called, mod01 feed. I'm just going to call it week 1, or whatever I want to call it, whatever pertains to the course. So now if I click on that, I'll have my RSS feed. Now you'll notice that I had a integrity lecture. Actually, I had 2 integrity lectures in this folder. And if your lecture that you have created with integrity already has the podcast created with it, it'll automatically recognize it here. So now if I were to pull this up, it'll pull up my iTunes and play that lecture. And the same thing if I were to do the iTunes. I have week 1. And I have these 2 integrity lectures. Now going back to what Brent said earlier, I had a lot more content in that folder than what is showing up here in iTunes. You see, I only have 3 things here. And I had a lot of other content. So that is something you're going to have to make sure your students are aware of. If you are putting PowerPoint slides, pictures, or actually pictures will work, but other content, make sure that they're aware of that. So that's kind of how, so if you have a integrity lecture and you know it has the podcast created with it already, and most, all the new integrity lectures do have the podcast created with it currently. If you enable the RSS feed and pull it in, they should work just like this, where students can access them at that point. But as easy as that sounds, it also sounds very complicated, right? So we want to make it easier for you. So what would be the easiest way for you to create a podcast? Now, we're talking audio only at this point. So imagine this. So let's say you go into your course, and then all of a sudden in your managed files, you have this little gizmo right here, where you can actually be in your course and record your voice. You don't have to have any special software. It's already built in. All you have to do is come into your course and hit this record button and start speaking. Now, wouldn't that be simple? So this is what we're going to. Hopefully, if all works out well, let's stop my recording here. We're hoping an August release of K-State Online, we'll have this in there for you, where you can actually go into your course, record your messages. You can be as long as you want, short as you want. That way you can just kind of put that maybe a message of the day, leave an audio message. So we're giving you a little bit more flexibility here. But with this, you can go into your course, hit record your lecture, and then put that in your RSS folder. And then the students can get the lecture that way. Yeah.
So if you had a list of PowerPoint slides in each for a series of lectures in the file manager, and you wanted to have a currently updated audio feed to go with the slide set, is this how you would then do it?
You could do it that way, yes. If you did not have a narrated slideshow, this would be, you could add those on. You could have PowerPoint audio file, and then they can listen along with each one.
If you wanted to have a new audio each time the course ran.
Right, exactly. If maybe you had some updated content or you just wanted to kind of fill out some things. And the nice thing that we're going to do with this too is you can actually take these, if you hit this little button right here, it's a save as. You can actually do other things with it. So you can come in here, there's 3 different options. Audio Speaks is an open source type of file. You have an MP3 file, which is pretty versatile, and you have a WAV file. The WAV file is going to be the biggest out of the 3, but you have a lot of flexibility here, so if you wanted to take those files and do something else with them, maybe burn them onto a CD or put them on a web page or something along those lines, you as an instructor can still grab those files out and do whatever you'd like to with them. Yes?
Where is that recorded message button going to be?
To be quite honest with you, we're going to put it wherever we think it'll do the most good. We'll probably have one just for podcast creation. We're considering putting one, adding it in for the message of the day. We would like to put it into the message boards. Imagine having voice message boards in there. So basically, we're going to take this little bitty player here and recorder and kind of see where it makes the most sense to put it. This is for instructors only at this point. Eventually, it'd be nice for student collaboration and student groups where they can leave voice messages for each other as a group, kind of voicemail. So,
would you record now if you were doing it in class? as you presented?
A very good question. In class, there's quite a few different ways. What the easiest way is getting a voice recorder. If you do have an iPod, they make a little like $40 attachment, which will actually hook right into your iPod and record you. So you can just set the iPod down on the table and start speaking, and it'll pick you up.
How sensitive is it? Can you move around?
Yeah, it's actually pretty sensitive. Now, if you do have to, if you're going to move around a lot, it might be easier just to kind of hold it, or get one that you can actually feed a mic into, like this. They have some where it has a jack, where you can actually put a mic in, a little lapel mic, and that way you can put it in your pocket and then walk around. Another option, what we're considering in some of the classrooms is actual recording software. That if you're using the mics, you can actually take an iPod and dock it in to this actual dock, and then everything you do will be recorded on the iPod through the sound system in the room. That's some of the things we're looking at. Now, if you have a laptop, that would be the next option. There's certain software that you can use, like Audacity if you have a PC, or GarageBand if you're on a Mac. But then you can just hit record and start speaking.
Could they just use this microphone?
Which part?
You're up there, you're giving us a lecture. Can't you just hit record and have a, let's say, a wireless microphone?
Yes, if it wasn't available yet.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what you're talking about too. Is once this is available, you can just use this
Right.
program with a wireless mic or maybe a mic with a lanyard or something,
Right.
and just start using it.
Yep.
Like that.
But today, it would be those other options until August. So you'd have to have some kind of second party, some kind of hardware to do the recording. But we're excited about this because this is going to give us a lot of flexibility to do recording actually in the course. It'll be great for modern languages, that sort of thing. And really, it's kind of a one-stop shop for you as an instructor. Hit record; it's already in your course. We know who you are, where you're going. We can add that right into the folder, and you're set to go. So.
Again, with the stress that you still have to consider other things as well as with the pedagogy. Well, now if you make everything, let's say, your message of the days or something really important, and it's just audio, you think about, well, if somebody can't hear. Now they totally missed everything. So if you have, this could be an additional tool, but you have to consider other options, other things that need to be done as well.
And with all this being said, even though I did say start off small with audio, the way the future is going will be video podcast. Everything's pretty much going towards video. Kind of dynamic video. If you see a lot of the most popular podcasts, it's usually people who have video and are very dynamic, and there's a bunch of cool, like there's one that Ask a Ninja, it's a ninja guy, he's, saying all these funny things. And but those are the ones that are most popular because people like that visual stimulation, especially students now. So that's kind of the way it's going. And you see a lot of cell phones, you see a lot of the commercials like Sprint, Verizon. It's all TV on your cell phone, getting the video. And that's what students are kind of expecting now. So. Yes, Mary.
Are all of the old degree lectures, can we go back in and change those now?
Yes, we have to run, actually not too much work, we just have to run a script. Just let me know whatever lectures that you have. And we'll,
Well, we've done that before.
right.
Do they need to be redone?
No, they should be okay. Dragging them over to the RSS folder should automatically allow them to be pulled in. So.
Back to the accessibility issue, is there software for closed captioning that would take your audio file and type out the...
It's getting better, but no.
Yeah, it's not there yet. We'd like to believe that, but it's getting close. And some of it will work pretty good after you train it, but we're not at the point where you just say, oh yeah, just automatically do it for me.
Like the speech to text, all the big companies, they still use a transcriptionist to, yes, they actually did research about this for WIMBA, Live Classroom, because it does have closed captioning features built in. but you still actually have to provide the text still. So there's just no good software yet, just because there's different dialects and accents, and we're still smarter than the computers, thankfully. So with that, I got an email this morning, or I would have made a slide about this. There was going to be a Podcasting 101 workshop in the Hemisphere room of the library. And it's going to be this Thursday, the 29th, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now, this will be a Mac workshop. Apple is actually be coming in and showing you how to do some stuff in GarageBand, which will be, if you have a Mac, it's very handy. If you don't, the Media Development Center in the library, they have a lot of stations defined for those with GarageBand installed. So you can always go in there and kind of do some editing with that. So, but that's this Thursday from 3 to 5 in the library. Any other questions? All right, well, we definitely thank you guys. If you want to look at the iPod, play around with it, it's okay. It's got a plastic case on it, so if you drop it, it's all good too. So, well, thank you for coming. Shasti, I turn it back over to you.
If there's no more questions, the last IDT roundtable for this semester will be next month, and it's on learning objects. So if you're interested, please do come. And we will have this archived if you think that you'd like to go over some of the points that Bryan and Brent just mentioned. That you said, well, I wasn't sure what he said. I want to go back and hear again. We will have this archived on the website in probably a week or 10 days, I would say. Yeah. So please check the website as well.
One thing I actually forgot to mention, there was a question about knowing the updates when something is updated. I actually subscribe to a technology blog. You see the Engadget RSS, and the 17 right beside it is actually all the new entries I have not seen. So it'll actually tell you what is new and how many new things are there. So if I were to add new things into that module week 1, I would have a number right beside this, how many new topics were in there, or new items. So that way I, as a student, can say, oh, I have new things in this folder. Kind of gives you a heads up. So that's kind of how that facilitates.
And in iTunes, you can select whether you want it to be where you have to go there and see, oh, okay, there's one, I should get it. Or you can have it set up where it just automatically starts downloading every time.
What is a learning object?
That's
So
when
you got to
need
come to find out.
Next one, next session,
I
exactly.
don't know what I'm working
It's hard for me to explain this. Do you want to hop in?
A learning object's actually kind of a complex thing as a whole. It's basically a self-contained unit of learning that's fostered through some form of multimedia. It, as a general rule, contains objectives, some form of instruction, and some type of assessment, and often some kind of interactivity. And it's actually a very big, broad category, but the idea is you're packaging learning into a modular format. So it's always this contained object. The biggest proponents of learning objects as a whole is actually the Department of Defense. And they've standardized a great number of the ways that learning objects are made and what types of software should be used in making them. But in the truth, when you start studying the ontology behind it, it just means that you've taken your learning and you've packaged it for electronic distribution in many ways. There are all sorts of little tricks and bells you can do, and they can be tremendously elaborate, or it can be very, very simple. In fact, packaging a podcast appropriately can make it into a learning object. It's a good question. There's not really a good answer for it.
It's not a short answer either.
So the salt chalk that I use to develop modules, is that a learning object?
Absolutely. And
Okay,
in
now I
fact,
get it.
and in fact, there is a way to export that out into what's called a SCORM module, which is the format that the Department of Defense typically uses to package them so that their databases will automatically go out and seek out all the pieces and parts.
So will you show us different programs we can use, like
Actually,
that type of thing, or?
I won't be doing any of that. That'll be Shalin Haiju who will be doing that.
But is that what we'll see, is
I don't know
different
if we'll be
programs you can
focusing on
use?
the programs, but we'll be focusing on how to, maybe like what a learning object is and how you can use your content to create a learning object and how it works in pieces of, we had lots of content with different modules, how it all packages up. I think we'll be talking overall, but if that is something that you're interested in, if you're, after the learning object presentation, maybe that's something we can maybe look into in the future for a presentation. I mean, this is the first time we're actually going to be talking about it in April.
Well, yeah, Salt Chalk I've used, but there's a new one that Human Ecology has that I haven't spent any time with, and I want somebody to show me.
Do you know what it is?
I don't. Do you remember, Ben, when we
It's
talked
probably
about?
Mediator 8
Yeah.
that you're talking about. Both products are pretty straightforward, truthfully, and once you get your feet wet,
It's just
you're
easier
up
when
and
you
running.
show me?
Yeah. It's true.
So I do hope that most of you come back in April. Brian and Brent, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's that date?
Yes, you have another question.
Let me look at that.
Which? You have a question?
Actually,
So April 19th.
April 19th, Thursday.
Oh,
Same
yes.
time.
Yes, you're telling another student to ask this question, but do only certain colleges have this available?
Some departments have their own dedicated systems. There are checkout systems available from ITAC, which are basically laptop, a tablet PC with a camera, microphone, everything you need to record. And that's free to use those checkout systems.
And so Integrity is a web-based software, or is it software on those particular machines?
It is software on a particular machine. Eventually it will be web-based. For those of you familiar with Wimba, it'll be just like Wimba almost, where you'll actually go into the course and hit record instead of having a dedicated machine.
We will listen
The
to
Landon Lecture Series.
Chemicals are developed.
I would like to take a moment to congratulate all of you who are graduating today with virtual commencement.
Kansas State University's Office of Mediated